Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Anita Kijanka, and welcome to the first global premiere of our report, Strong Women in IT. I am so happy to see you here and that you are here with us, because after 5 months of working on this project, we finally can tell you about the outcomes, about the findings in this report, and they are stunning. And today, our guest will even confirm what we've just discovered. Maybe some brief beginners of our project. I run a PR agency dedicated for tech companies, and often media approach us and ask us about women who are leading in tech because they are looking for new stories, new business models, new women who could be inspiration for others. And they simply ask us whether we know someone. So that's how the idea of Strong Women in IT began. And after 3 years, we've gathered 5,000 people who are each week or every second week receive our emails and join our webinars. And today they will have a chance to download the report. And the report is really amazing. And I'm so happy to tell you more about it. So today we are going to have two panel discussions with absolutely wonderful people who help us create this report. And at the end, we will have really amazing women, lady rockets, women whose face is someone that she loves it, that she inspires it. So let me show you some slides that we sum up, and let me introduce who stands behind this report, Strong Women IT Global Edition. So first of all, as I mentioned, we will have 6 wonderful panelists and speakers who will tell us more about being a woman in tech, and one guy who will tell us how does he sees us. Later, there are 6 numbers, and this is our report in numbers. 5 months we work on preparing this report. 11 great members of the jury, 200 women. We gathered question about being a strong woman in IT. 247 is the number of pages that you will have in our report. Two means 2 parts of our report. In one part, you will have all the statistics, anonymous statistics that all our strong women gave. And on the other hand, the second part, it will be their portfolio. Each of 200 women had her own one pager where you can meet her, when you can absolutely find her on LinkedIn and maybe network. So I hope that you will have wonderful journey with us, and the only such a report on the market. So I hope you'll like it. So this report wouldn't be possible without our great members of the jury, who help us not only to spread the word about what we are doing, but also advise us and be really supportive in the whole run of this project. Of course, our community partners who publish information, help us find wonderful women who can see in our publication, and big thanks for letting this happen. So let's start our first panel discussion with Cindy Rubens, Senior Vice President People at relayr, and Mariam Kobiashvili, co-founder and COO of Beauty Labs. Cindy and Mariam, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Anita, very much for having us here tonight.
I'm so happy that you are here. Cindy, yes?
Same from me. Good afternoon, everyone. And Anita, thank you so much for pulling this together. Huge respect to you.
Thank you. This is a work of our great team from Strong Women in IT, Justyna, Alexandra, Agnieszka. Definitely you'll have to meet them in person soon. But first, let's start the panel discussion, because Strong Women in IT, 200 women, that's quite a lot, from all over the world, who agreed to join us and tell us more about themselves, who they are. This is the topic of this panel discussion. And maybe, Cindy, first question for you. When you think about strong women, how would you define this term? How do you understand this term?
Well, Strong women. I liked what you posted a few weeks ago back on LinkedIn, where you mentioned it's a contemporary woman, and this contemporary woman is what I fully stand behind. Like, strong means for me it's courage. It's courage to speak up. It's courage to address right and wrong. It's courage to have candid conversations. And that's basically for me the what I link to strong.
Thank you, Mariam. And how do you, can you name yourself a strong woman in IT?
Definitely. At least I would like to. And I had the pleasure to meet so many strong women in tech during these few years that I've actually entered into this industry, because my past work experience was in totally different industries. But here I can definitely see a very strong spirit that women have. All of them are so hardworking, and I must say that this is a very masculine sphere still. And I would not say that, I would not mention discrimination, but still, to some point, women are somehow underestimated still. And we've had this, sorry for the echo. We've had these discussions with also representatives of Silicon Valley, and this is a problem everywhere. So to be, to stand strong on your ground and to know what you want in life, and to be a professional and to strive towards your goals is definitely amazing. And this is what women are doing in this industry on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And I think that, the findings in our report show us exactly who they are and what is really important for them. And one of the questions that we had in our report were why those people simply see what pros and cons are of being strong women in IT. So Cindy, if you could think about 2 or 3 pros of being in this industry, what would you say? What is it?
So for me, my top 3 are: I'm always around innovation, very important to me. For me, the people that I'm working with and that I've been working with in the last 15 years since I've been working in IT was the focus on content, not how I look. It was all about having in-depth conversations. I like that and enjoy that very much. And everything is new and there's constant change. And you're the first to be part of what's happening in society. And I want to be part of that.
To create the future. Yeah, this is one of the answers women often write. Mariam, what about you? Why do you are in this industry? Why are you working here?
Yes, constant learning is definitely one of the greatest advantages that Cindy just mentioned, because this is a very, very rapidly and constantly developing sphere, right? So you have to keep up with the pace, and it's almost mandatory to know about all the developments of the industry. So it can never be a routine work for me. You are constantly learning and constantly developing and growing as a professional. So for a person who likes that and who wants to develop as a professional, that's the industry specifically for them. So that's definitely one of the greatest advantages. I would also say that in general, as one of the pros, it's a very well-paid industry in comparison to other industries. And especially now, well, IT industry has always been very well paid, but especially now during the pandemic, tech has become very highly demanded and needed. So therefore, remuneration have gone drastically high in Georgia, and as far as I know, all over the world. So for those who are looking for the well-paid jobs, this is the industry for them, irrespective of whether you're a female or male, for everyone. to think of another advantage, I think I would stress out great opportunities, because once again, because this is a very rapidly developing industries, it gives you endless opportunities, especially if you are motivated enough and if you're a visionary and are an innovative thinker, and have some really good solutions to this or that problems. You can always find people who are interested in investing into the good ideas or promising startups. So this sphere definitely offers you endless opportunities, and that's one of the greatest incentives, I would say.
Okay, so but every coin has, next side. So what do you think about disadvantages, about these cons of being in tech? You mentioned, Cindy, that this is the advantage, that everything is new and you have to constantly learn. But do you think this can be also disadvantage?
Yeah, if every person is in certain phases of their lives, and I know that after having had my kids, I was just in a moment of like, I cannot deal with even more change. So in a certain period of times, it is just it is okay to actually not have to learn. But I also felt a little that after returning from maternity leave, that the world had moved on, and I didn't click on with certain technologies. I mean, silly stuff, yeah, like I don't know, what was it? Was it Google Mail or something? And everyone has already used it for 2 years, and you're just you're starting off again. So I think it depends on in which period of your life you are, that learning is easy, and where you sometimes do want to have a break.
Yeah, definitely, because you need to be updated, constantly know what is happening, what is newest technology are using. Mariam, what is the most difficult part for you to be in this business?
I can definitely relate to Cindy because I have a 1-year-old toddler and I'm also pregnant right now, and I have to constantly work because you are not allowed to take a break. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, things just are not gonna work.
You fall behind.
Yes.
I perfectly can relate because I'm also pregnant. So there will be more strong women in IT soon on this world, on this planet. Wonderful.
It can be really stressful, not only for women, for working moms, but in general, it's a very stressful industry. It's a very stressful work. Once again, due to the fact that this is a very live industry, so to say, once again, this can never be a routine work. And then comes the competition. I would say this is one of the one of the most competitive spheres out there, and unless you're way ahead of your competitors and you have a competitive advantage, you're not going to do well in this industry. So that elevates the stress even further. Okay. So yeah, I would say stressful. In general, it's a stressful industry, and high competition is another disadvantage.
Okay, let's see what were the answers of our Strong Women in IT in the report. So please look at this presentation. This is part of the slides we had in our report, and everyone who will download it will have the answer divided into women from corporation and from startups, and we can see and think whether we relate more to corporation or startup words. So when they write about, and when we ask them about advantages, constant development was exactly what they mentioned, and for startup and corporation, it was more than 1/5 of the answers. Challenges and changes, or shaping reality, of course, being part of someone who is creating the future. So this is exactly what our women in this report mentioned. So I think exactly this is what was the most common answers. On the other hand, when we think about disadvantages, there were constant changes, and of course that there are not too many women. There are just a few in this industry, and that's why I think we need to talk about being a woman in tech more. We need to promote role models just to show how great this industry can be for the women. As you mentioned, being pregnant or having a baby, it is possible. Of course, it is challenging, but I think it is also challenging whether you are dentists, because everything is moving so fast. But here, the greatest successes our Strong Women in IT gave. They mentioned that some really nice ideas, and mentioned about some really nice outcomes of this report. Mariam, when you think about your biggest successes, what would you say about last year?
Are you stressed? Extremely.
I'm so sorry, Anita.
Not over this.
I can hear
Mariam, you're muted.
Okay, we have some problems. There's someone speaking at the same time. Okay, probably now it should be okay. Mariam, could you try once again?
I'm so sorry, ladies. Can you hear me now?
Yes, no problem.
I could hear the other streamline, so I missed the part.
Of course, no problem. I asked when you think about last year, what was your biggest successes? Because last year was a really challenging year, and when you think about your successes, your biggest achievement, what would you say?
Frankly, when anyone mentions 2020, the only thing that comes to mind, understandably, is the COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely.
And I think to everyone, but especially to us, 2020 brought us way more challenges than success. But if I definitely have to mention a success, then it would be the launch, because we launched one of our products in 2020. And in a few months, there was this outbreak of world pandemic, and everything was shut down. So the launch definitely was one of the biggest successes, but the aftermath, starting from the launch, was definitely very challenging. So I can't really mention any other success stories because especially in our country, this pandemic situation was very drastic, and it affected almost every industry, including our sphere, very drastically and very badly. So yeah, I mean, I can hardly think of anyone whose year was successful during that period.
Yeah, that was really challenging year. But I think thanks to technology, lots of things, stand at the same level or simply grow. So I think, would you agree that this technology a bit save us?
Should I answer or should Sid?
Yeah, of course.
Technology saved us, right? You said technology saved us.
Yeah.
Definitely. I could clearly see this in my country, and I know this was the case everywhere, that IT industry, as I already mentioned, became one of the most demanded industries out there, because like schools, restaurants, every public services, pretty much every sphere needed technology to even develop further, because, for instance, in our country, everything was closed. Like, we had several lockdowns during the year, and not only jobs and schools were closed, public gatherings were prohibited, all kinds of events were prohibited, all the restaurants were closed. So everything had to be digitized. So definitely IT became one of the most demanded and needed industries. And in some way, this is a very good thing for the industry in general, because once again, as I've mentioned, it became even well paid, and the remunerations became even higher, but in other sense, yeah, I mean, all the other industries were affected, not in a good way.
Yeah. How about you, Cindy? You've been in Germany last year, or have you been somewhere else?
No, I was in Germany, and I have this one quote, and it may not apply to everyone, but in the absence of choice, everything is possible. And when we went into that first lockdown, and when we had to just send our people home, just in that March, on that March day in 2020, it was just that was the one message that we gave everyone. I mean, it was just like, we have no choice, but we will get this done and we will get through it. And that was the that's sort of what kept me going, and what I shared with my team. And it's just like, make sure that our people can work from home safely, that they have what they need, that this company continues to run, that our customers can continue to be successful, because it's a domino effect, right? If in society one thing does not work, then it has a knock-on effect on other things. So that was the main thing that we were trying to achieve. Just keep going, heads down, keep going.
You know, persistence was one of the most often answer that was given in our report. Here is the next slide from our report about mistakes that let us learn the most from the previous year, of course. And here we have that women from corporation had problem with management, with team management. So probably it was connected with remote work, and maybe waiting for decisions. What should they do? How to perform? What exactly they should proceed with? Different projects, initiative, even people and toxic relationships. So, but I think it was rather connected with simply being alone, you know, being isolated at home. But when we think about startup, they were more philosophical. Every mistake teaches us something. So they were maybe like a birth view, looking at the situation. And of course, the team management was the difficult part, and and waiting. So when we simply look at the answers, we see that waiting is not something that we should act. Yeah, we should act. Mariam, was acting something like easily for you last year? Was it easy for you to act? It was rather stressful, and just observing the situation was more easy and more stable.
So acting was definitely very hard for us, but notwithstanding that, we never stopped acting. It was hard for us because once again, all the things I've mentioned that had been happening in our country directly affected, had a direct effect on us. So we are operating in the beauty sphere, right? And we found ourselves in a situation where our services were simply no longer needed. So what we were supposed to do? We lost our staff members. We lost our offices several times, but we were constantly communicating with our customers, potential customers, discussing our future plans with them, because it's crucial. Because if you stop operating and just doesn't do anything, then you may as well just close your company. And so one thing I've learned from this pandemic situation is to never stop, always look forward, and just be as active as possible.
Sure. Cindy, what about you?
I couldn't say it better. Yeah, never stop acting. Stopping is the most dangerous part. And again, yes, I get it that you have to stop and reflect. But in times of crisis, you have to keep on moving. And I mean, also in times of crisis, we show who we really are, right? And then that I want to bring back to the employers. I mean, it was immediately clear which employers took action straight away, made sure that their employees are safe, In Germany, there's this concept we had a possibility to bring people on short-term labor, so actually that the government would take over part of the pay. And you could see there as well the companies that first of all out of need, but you had also other companies that let me not finish that sentence. Let me bring it back to the company that I'm working for. Like, we did not even though we could have, we did not send anyone into short-term work, because we are responsible for our employees. Everyone needs to have a living, and that's the last thing that we will ever take away from our people.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Anita, if I may add, so another very important lesson learned for me personally was to always have a contingency plan, because we were a startup. Clearly, we didn't have a plan to survive in times of a crisis, and we found ourselves like we were just lucky we survived, frankly. So now I know that you always have to have a plan to survive a crisis. Doesn't matter what kind of crisis. It can be a few months of shutdown, or no income period, or no staff, or a loss of customers whatsoever. But a plan has to be there, and it's crucial for the survival of the company.
If I may then add the comment that I said at the beginning of this show, courage. So Mariam, like, kudos to you. Courage, persistence. Well done.
You definitely deserve to be a strong woman, Anita. You are strong. Yeah, ladies. So we have 3 minutes left to finish this panel. It just, time is passing so fast. I was thinking whether we will be able to cover all these topics, but we've managed. So Mariam, please tell us a few words about your plans for the coming future. What are your goals? What are you going to do in the next couple of weeks, months? Because soon being a mother of two is definitely a challenge. So tell us about your future. And Cindy, after that, I'm asking you also about it. So Mariam, please tell us.
So we are still facing pandemic here in Georgia, and not only Georgia, everywhere else. But once again, this cannot define our future. We've been working constantly, and we are continuing to work on the growth of our company. Actually, we have great news. We are working on the update of our product right now, and we are also thinking about developing new products. We're also planning to currently, we are managing the biggest online platform in the beauty industry in Georgia, and we have this. We've launched a year and a half ago a mobile app for online bookings and management software for the beauty service providers. And in the near future, we are planning to also cover aesthetic tourism in order to offer Georgian services to foreign citizens. So that's our near future plan, and I should say that we are doing quite well in spite of the pandemic situation, and hopefully this is the way we're gonna do well in the future.
So finger crossed, for all the things that let this plan become a reality.
Thank you so much, Anita.
Yeah, but Cindy, how about you?
Yeah, for us, it's also about growing, and we also have that challenge of trying to find all these engineers. If you know someone, get in touch. But the most important thing is this hybrid working. That actually we were always working in hybrid, but we actually only realized as we all worked from remote how bad or how non-inclusive it was for the people that were actually always had been working from remote. So that's what I'll be focusing on. And then again, as also what I'm trying to do here, just be even more supportive of women, and just continue, because for me, like humble beginnings, now I have a very fancy job title. And just to never forget how many more people and women and also men are out there, and just to continue to support them. Don't forget them. Don't leave anyone behind.
Of course. Wonderful. So, ladies, once again, thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining the jury of this report. I think that this is just the beginning of our wonderful journey in women empowerment and promotion of women in tech. So, this is not goodbye, this is just the beginning, but this first panel discussion will need to finish right now. Thank you once again. Please share the information about reporting tomorrow when we'll be official promotion and start of this communication of this report. Once again, wish you all the best and let your plans become a reality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anita. Likewise, everything best to you.
Thank you. So we are just after the first panel discussion, who are strong women in IT, and the next panel discussion will be about shaping, how can we shape more strong women in IT? What can we do to have more women who can create technology, who can create new places where we will find wonderful solution for our businesses, for our life, and for our future. And we will have three wonderful, great, absolutely inspiring speakers. Kathleen Barrett from Vimeo, Joanne Furlow from Siemens, and Howard Steinbeck, who is a business strategist. Oh, I see Kathleen is already here. Joanne, great, wonderful. And Howard, hello everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
I am so happy to see you here. How about you? What have you already? How is your day? You just started, and we'll be talking about women in business. And when you think, maybe Kathleen, first question for you: when you think about being a business, what character traits let you be where you are?
So I always talk to my team about two specific things. One, and probably the most important thing that I've leaned into throughout my career, and that I always encourage women, regardless of where they are in their career, to focus on, is really identifying problems and then executing on solutions, right? So if you can really focus on problem solving and gathering the data you need to make a decision around the path forward and prove that you are somebody that can execute over and over again, you're just going to be given so many more opportunities, new challenges, new roles, with that track record, that like focusing on your day-to-day execution is super critical. And then the other thing I really believe in, and I think the report kind of speaks to, is the ability to, navigate change, and teach yourself how to be resilient in an ever-changing environment and adapt quickly. It's just such a big part of being in this industry. And change really does introduce so many opportunities. So if you can kind of stay level-headed, identify those opportunities as things are changing, again, I think it really just gives you more optionality in your career, and more opportunity to kind of even leapfrog sometimes from whatever level you might be at.
Yes, that's what we mentioned in the previous panel, to take action. Joanne, what about you? What do you think? What character traits helps you to be where you are right now?
I think there's two primary ones. One is communication or persuasion, and being able to be persuasive on different topics. And the other is actually being a risk taker, a calculated risk taker. And I think that's very important, because women are not historically risk takers themselves. It's not part of our conditioning, as it were. Just by way of example, 15 years ago, I left Canada to come over to the UK. I had no job, no visa, no network. I knew one person, and I started over from there. And if you're not a risk taker, you would not have survived making such a drastic change in your life and the problem solving that comes along with it. But within 15 years, I started a career over from point zero and to C-level management in one of the most recognized companies and respected companies in the world, and even up to director level. So risk taking, absolutely. And part of what helped me get there definitely goes to the communication side. The communication with those people around me, the communication or the persuasiveness of who I am, what I can bring to the table. and also to myself in internal communications and talking to myself about like what I'm capable of doing and reminding myself at those moments when you actually have those self-doubts that are inevitably there during that. So yeah, for me, I think it's the two things: communication / persuasiveness and calculated risk taking.
So something also like networking and being able to connect the dots.
Absolutely. Again, that goes back to communication, whether it's building the rapport or the connections with people and talking to them, especially now, because as a global head of IT, I deal with people from all around the world on a regular basis. So that ability to communicate, still connect, develop rapport that everyone wants to go forward is absolutely critical to success on a daily or longer term basis.
Thank you. Howard, you are the only one man here on the stage, but definitely you are so supportive for women, and I'm so happy that you are with us here. When you think about your character traits, what would you say? What's helped you grow and develop your career in such a way?
Sure, and to not step on toes, but I loved the two previous answers, certainly, to kind of take that, we talk about a calculated risk and go back to what Kathleen mentioned about data. So I personally believe, I've been in business development for the lion's share of my career. So admittedly, I'm not a product manager, but I think I know something when I see it. And I believe, regardless of your function, I believe it's got to be a balance of both kind of that data and that calculation balanced with your gut, right? And I'd take it a step further and say, latching onto what Joanne mentioned there, really it's persistence, right? It's wanting those challenges. It's proving yourself over and again. It's finding allies. Again, I cannot speak as a woman in IT, but certainly I think those are the traits that I would look to as, the best opportunity for success. And one last little piece, a little bit personal, but I was raised by a single mother. Right, I want to see women succeed, obviously in IT, but really across the board. And I think that my upbringing kind of, lent me to this place of wanting to see and not to put myself on a pedestal, but saying, why should gender matter? I know it does, yeah. Right? And I'm a male, so I can't really speak to what it's like to be a female, especially in IT. But to me, there should be no barriers, really, right? If you're capable, if you're driven, if you're able to lead, gender should not matter.
Absolutely. Hope that in the future it will change, and we won't think it that way. And, your approach will be common, and such panel discussions, such webinars will be something like a cosmic. Was it possible? How can it be? But, yeah, it was true. So let's see what other women from our report mentioned and what they told about us when we think about character traits. And I must say that this is a huge difference from our last report, because here we have this corporation and startup approach, and women from corporations said that empathy and persistence, but empathy was on the first place, whereas in startup women says that persistence and communication was the need, was the character trait that helped them most. And what is really interesting, last year, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, we had exactly more or less the same answers. And here we see that corporation was needed more empathy, but whereas startup needed to be more persistent. So this shows us that it was a really tough time for them, and showed, and even after our last panel discussion showed that you have to be persistent to achieve your goals. Whereas in corporation, when it is, I think it is more stable. This is my guessing just right now. It is just empathy needed for those who are working remotely, who are in completely new situation. When you think, Kathleen, at these findings, what do you think? Do you agree?
I definitely agree on the persistence side, and I think it's probably startups and beyond. Something we say here is, impatience and vision, or patience with vision and impatience on execution. And I think that persistence ties to that vision, right? You need to have conviction and move in that direction. But then when you're getting resistance, whether it's, internal or external, being able to kind of iterate and keep going and push it forward, and really stay committed to that vision. So that really resonates with me for sure.
Sure. Joan, what's your opinion here?
I agree with the persistence in communication, everything that Kathleen has just spoken to, because of the nature of what it is that you're doing. In the corporate world, you do have other types of challenges, and I would agree that empathy and persistence really comes to the forefront. It's interesting to see empathy as the number one up there, even in a corporate world, because so often that gets forgotten about, not so much by the women that you work with, but quite often you can get tied up in the corporate push and going forward that it's easy to be so focused on the business goals themselves that you forget about the people that are there. And I think that's a danger in every corporation. They really have to remember to be empathetic, to be sensitive to their people that are there, because they're the ones who are making things happen. And sometimes that can get lost in the shuffle. I think it's an area where as women, we definitely have an advantage because we are more sensitive to that when we're in that type of a corporate environment. And certainly persistence, I think that holds true for pretty much anything that we're doing in a tech industry, is we do have to be persistent. There's a lot of challenges that we face on a daily basis in what we do. And that is a very strong character trait to have. Thank you. So,
yes. Howard, when you think about women in business, would you say that we are empathetic and persistent?
Yes, most definitely. I'm not surprised to see empathy up there, and speaking very broadly, absolutely, women hold a tremendous advantage over men, generally speaking. To me, that's one of those traits that pays dividends in your personal life as well as your professional life. So, again, speaking very high level and broadly, I think males can certainly benefit from, making a focus and being more empathetic. And I won't speak for everyone because I like to think of myself as empathetic, but this is not about me. But what I found kind of most surprising on the startup side, while I understand persistence, and I mentioned that in my initial answer to the first question, that, and I've been in startups, I've worked for larger corporations, and I've worked for myself. Something like patience and flexibility ranks rather low on the startup side of things. And that was kind of a surprise to me in my startup experience, which is not tremendously broad, but I've been with a couple of startups, patience, certainly, flexibility. I mean, things change so rapidly. Whereas when you have an existing corporation, a larger kind of established enterprise level company, yes, it's great to have patience, but things certainly do not move swiftly in most cases. So that was kind of the surprising takeaway for me on that side. But as far as empathy is concerned, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I would have expected in both cases those to be rising to the top. I see it on the corporation side, not so much on the startup side. But yes, that is a skill, like I said, applies both to business and to personal relationships.
And Howard, when you started your career, did you have someone like role model, a person that inspires you, and were someone that like you wanted to follow in your work and be inspired by?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, honestly, Anita, early on, not so much. My first job out of university was in Midtown Manhattan working for a large retailer, not on the floor, but more on the analytics side of things and distribution of goods to the various department stores. I was placed into a buying office with a senior buyer. She'd been there for years and years and years, very well respected, very good at her job. Not to point any fingers, but I wouldn't say she was so much of a mentor as at least verbally and emotionally, she was not as much of a mentor. But I got to understand what it meant to be a professional and to be devoted to your career. So at least within my first 2 years of professional experience, I would not say that I had a mentor, in certain ways, but in other ways I certainly did. And while I'm not necessarily using those skills that I learned all those decades ago, certainly to see somebody show up on the daily and be devoted to what she's doing and be very good at what she's doing, and balance that gut with the data and analytics side of things. She was, like I said, a mentor in that regard. But then again, these days, I don't think any of us can count on just getting a nice pat on the head and say we're doing a nice job. And when this happens, you go in this direction and then this. That's not reality. So I guess I'm kind of speaking in circles a little bit, but I would say I had a mentor in some regards, and she certainly to this day, I would say again, I'll hold up to that standard of saying, hey, this is how a professional acts and reacts and leads.
Yeah, Kathleen, do you have your mentor or have you ever had your mentor in the past?
Yeah, so I know some people talk about one mentor. For me, it was many women throughout my career, actually, very often my bosses that were just invaluable in giving me guidance, really, really honest feedback, and showing me the way to navigate, complex situations. And so I started my career at Goldman Sachs. I was really fortunate that I was working with a lot of women that were very successful there and really made the time to coach me and give me advice and be a sounding board. I still call them, they call me now. And I try to offer the same thing, to the folks both in my company and outside of the company. And the advice I always give people is, the mentor doesn't have to be super formal. It could be somebody that's really strong in an industry that you're excited about or has solved a problem you're trying to figure out how to solve. And when you reach out for very specific advice, most people will make the time for you. And, I thought that was something that was limited to Goldman Sachs, frankly. But then I've learned over my career that a lot of people will open their door to you when you're coming to them with a specific ask, not just to take time, but rather to ask how they did it or how to give or to get some feedback. So I'm a big believer in just lots of mentors that are maybe experts in things that you're not an expert in, and really leveraging your network to be stronger across the board.
Great. Gianna, how about you? Did you have your mentors?
Yes, and just to speak quickly to follow on what Kathleen just said about having many mentors and actually reaching out specifically. And I guess I hadn't really thought about it. I've done that a lot over the years, but I didn't think that one-to-one specific. I didn't think of it in the way of mentoring at the time, but I definitely take your point, Kathleen, and it changes sort of how I would look back at that. And yeah, many people over the years that have been there and have encouraged me, guided me, sometimes have seen things in me that I did not see myself as to what I was capable of doing. As you grow in your confidence in the career. But there's two in particular I would say that have really stood out for me. And one was the first female manager I had, a lady by the name of Corinne Kershey, and she was VP of marketing. I was in product marketing at the time, and she was a powerhouse. And it was a bit intimidating, I'm not going to lie. And I thought, wow, when I grew up, I want to be like her. It was that sort of almost that type of worship. She was so impressive in the way she conducted herself, particularly in a very, very aggressive male-dominated area. And so I did learn a lot from her. And it really was only in this last year I had the opportunity to actually go back and actually say to her, by the way, this is what you were to me and thank you, which she never realized that was the case. So that was one mentor. One else who stands out for me is actually a man, a previous manager that I've had within Siemens, a gentleman by the name of Luca Garg. And absolutely phenomenal. I mean, if there was like a perfect checklist of what your ideal manager would be, he would be the epitome of every aspect of that. Just one of the most humble, approachable, supportive people. And when I first moved into this role, and as my responsibilities grew, we all are not, we don't all, but many of us will suffer with imposter syndrome and things. And he was the one who stepped up to me and said, you got this. And he really mentored and guided me along the way. And the amount that I've grown under his guidance during that time has just been phenomenal. So I think it's important, to take on board, yes, a lot of different mentors, and it could be specific or in general. It could be somebody who inadvertently is a mentor, quite indirectly not realizing that they are, to Howard's example. And then sometimes you just get really lucky and you get somebody pretty amazing who steps in and says, I've got you on this because I believe in you. And so that's always really exciting.
I was asking you about that because, the panel discussion is about how can we shape more women in business, in strong women in IT. Yeah. So, and one of my ideas, my thoughts about it is to have more role models, more women, more men we can relate to. We can ask about some advices, we can follow, look for instructions, even how to behave or do whatever we want. What is your opinion? How can we really shape more women in tech, in business, in strong women? So those women who are on managerial positions. Kathleen, what would you think? What would you say?
I think role models always helps, right? It's easier to see someone that looks like you or sounds like you in a role that you're excited about. I think another thing that's super important, and I feel this way just about management in general, is, to teach managers that their job is not just to get the work done and help their team get the work done, but to also represent their team more broadly across leadership and up to the executives that they might be interacting with when their employees don't have that direct interaction. So ultimately your storytelling on behalf of the folks on your team, and when you see a bright star, tell that story for them. So be there, yes, as a role model, but also kind of advocate for them even in moments that might seem mundane, just to make it clear, to raise the visibility of their work, which hopefully will give them more opportunities down the line as well.
I love the approach you guys from US have, this pay it forward, to help others grow because someone else helped you. How do you, Kathleen, pay it forward? Your past experience, your past achievements.
Yeah, I think like I mentioned, I try to coach people in how to reach out to other folks, but then also make myself available and give feedback in terms of how to navigate and how to focus. So I think right now it's mentoring very often, both formally and informally. Like I mentioned, doing that kind of storytelling, and just thinking of other ways to really offer opportunities to folks that may not normally have them. So I think that I try to think of this as my job on every day, honestly, with my team and beyond. But very often it's being accessible to kind of give people the right advice and not just make time for them, but to like really push them to think about how they can make progress.
But it is going also out of their comfort zone, and it is not also easy.
For sure.
Yeah. Howard, how about you? Are you a role model for someone, and how do you pay forward for everything that happened to you?
Gosh, I sure hope so. Again, I formally, I don't think so, but I've been told, even matter of fact, yesterday, I've been speaking with a gentleman who now lives in Pennsylvania, originally from New York, and I met him on a short consulting engagement. And John may be a decade or so younger, and he was retelling a story about an interaction he had recently where he referred to me as a mentor, and I was kind of blown away. I didn't expect him to say that. Excuse me. He's very gracious with his words, and I guess the answer would be, like I said, I hope so. Right. And even if not so always professionally, then personally as well. And it's really a matter of that perception. How does someone perceive you? So a very hopefully brief story I can tell here was during university, I was paid, but I tutored students in a program, and graduated. Didn't really think too much about it thereafter. About 4 or 5 years ago, heard from one of those students who just sent an email out, out of the blue, and didn't, kind of bare a soul or anything, but just said, "Hey, is this the same, Howard Steinberg from back when?" And we're still in touch to this day. He's just had a second son recently. If it's not too much of a stretch, I take that in my mind to say, hey, you know what? I had some impact on this gentleman. He's not reaching out, asking for anything. He's just reaching out to be back in touch. That felt pretty good. And you don't do it for that reason. So to answer your question, I think, Anita, most bluntly is, how do you pay it forward? Kathleen really hit the nail on the head, right? As you make yourself available. In a professional setting, I'd say very much, I'll make the argument that there is that mutual exclusivity. You may be a wonderful individual contributor sitting in any organization, from tech to product management to marketing, et cetera. That does not in and of itself obviously make you a good people manager, right? Or a mentor or anything to that effect. So I think by word and deed, paying it back means that you are empathetic, that you are invested in others, whether there's a reporting structure or a peer or somebody in a completely different organization, that you hold yourself a certain way, and that you do, as Kathleen pointed out, make yourself available. We're all a team here, right? Especially in a corporation, you don't have to necessarily like one another, but you're all hopefully striving for the right goals. And if in a larger enterprise level corporation, it's harder to do this, but you try to set a culture of and foster that idea of giving back to others and giving up yourself and making time.
Thank you. That sounds really, amazing, and I'm so happy that you are here with us, and spreading the word and sharing your thoughts. Joanne, how can we shape more strong women in IT in business? How do you support women to grow, to let them feel confident, and this imposter symbol be as small as possible?
I have to say, this is an area that I am extremely passionate and actively involved in. And I will do my best to be concise because I can really talk to this topic. I recognize that, especially being in the industry as long as I have, which is, I'm quite confident, a lot longer than any of you here. We're definitely talking 3+ decades here, right? At the very least. So I've been around in the industry for a long time, and there weren't a lot of role models when I started for women. And I've really come to realize in these last few years that I have a responsibility to make and share my experiences and to encourage and bring others along as best I can. So in 2018, I started to go back out and do public speaking for the first time in 20 years. First talk was on imposter syndrome at European Women in Tech event. And what was really amazing, just a quick story from that, was one of the 20+ group of young women who stayed with me afterwards came back a year later and said, I've changed my entire life because of your talk. And I'm now in a new job. I'm now controlling a team. I walked away from that disempowering situation and took charge. And by the way, you know how quiet I was last year? I'm speaking this year. And I thought, wow. And I was so nervous, like going out and speaking for the first time and after such a long time. So I've really actively been doing it. So I do a lot of conferences. I speak as much as I can publicly on a wide variety of topics. I also, within my Siemens organization, I'm working with a lot of the women in there to also share experiences and bring them along. And since I've come here to the Isle of Man, I'm also part of a volunteer group of some of the most amazing ladies who are just powerhouses. And we have a volunteer charity that is called Love Tech, which we're promoting STEM to the young women and the young girls on the island through various events and raising awareness. So for me, I try to be that role model in every interaction that I'm doing, trying to reach as many as I can, but sometimes it's even on that one-to-one basis. And it's not always for the women, because even with my own team, I tried to do that role model and say, hey, here's how we can take the best that you have and then start to build up from there as well. And I'm very much about that, empowering the individual and leading by example as best I can. So yeah, I really, like I said, it's a subject I am extremely passionate about: women in tech, women in STEM, and getting out there and talking about it as much as possible to raise the awareness and get young women or the younger women coming through to realize, there's going to be a lot of challenges, whether you've got a couple of kids or you're just starting your career or you're at a senior level like myself and you have your own sets of challenges that come along with that. And so, yeah, it's just really to create that awareness and get out and talk about it. And I'll stop talking now because, like I said, I could really get passionate about this. So I'll stop there.
Yes, I must say I'm really thank you for you too, because each of you I approach in completely different way. Kathleen, I find you on LinkedIn and you just said you are in, and then thank you so much for your openness and for being here with us. Howard, we know each other for some time, but when I said about this project, you will say, yes, I will support you and help you with spreading the word about it. And Joanne, this was amazing. We approached her on LinkedIn and she said, we need to talk. And she called me and asked how can she support us in spreading the word, in promotion of our report. So guys, I really want to thank you for being here with us. I want to really from the best of my heart to say thank you once again for joining the members of the jury. As I said in the previous panel, this is not the end. This is just the beginning of our wonderful journey for women empowerment, for our Strong Women in IT community. Howard, please feel invited also as a man who is supporting Strong Women in IT. So thank you once again. Thank you for being here with us. And of course, I hope you will stay with us to listen our interview with Lady Rocket. So thank you once again, and wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very happy
Nice
to
to
be
meet
a
you,
part of
Kathleen
it
and
all.
Joanne.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes. So we are just after the second panel, and I must say, time is passing so fast. Sometimes when you prepare something, you're waiting, and suddenly there is it, and it is just like a moment. And I'm so happy that in a sec you will meet really inspiring, unusual, stunning woman who is absolutely inspiration, not only for me, but definitely will be also for you. Woman who probably that has more time than 24 hours. Probably her day is more like 48. So please let me introduce you Eva Blaisdell, who in the past she was she ran one of the biggest companies in the world, and now she wants to change the world of tech and space. So, Lady Rocket, welcome.
Very, very happy to be here with you. Good morning from Los Angeles, California. Perhaps you can hear tunes of Rocketman by Elton John in the background. Wanted to welcome all of you with the song. There is not a Rocket Woman song yet, but we are working on it. And Anita, first of all, thank you so much for your global outreach, for your innovation, for your commitment, for your very, very meaningful initiative to bring together women and men to explore, but also to take action that will expand the opportunities for women on Earth, but also in space.
Yes.
So here I am all yours, and love from sunny California.
Great. So maybe Eva, let's start from the beginning. Your name is Eva Blaisdell, but you often name yourself Lady Rocket. Can you tell us more how you coined this nickname? What does it mean? And how simply all those rockets and space careers started?
Yes, a very important question, and actually I have a fun answer and a serious answer to your meaningful
So let's start
question.
with the fun one.
Okay, fun one starts. I want to show you my Lady Rocket jacket, specially designed for me by a young designer from Poland, Mariko Poland, because to carry the message of space and take it away from the very I would say dry image of rocket launches, space industry, even STEM. I decided to create an image brand that will speak to especially those women that are too afraid, too intimidated, too not ready for STEM, or will never be, but shouldn't be excluded from participation in space opportunities. Also, I am in Hollywood, and I have a TV shows that we are producing for potential distribution by Netflix, Amazon, Apple. And it was appropriate to create the image of Lady Rocket rather than Eva Blaisdell, which is, something that I, of course, am proud of because of my corporate investor entrepreneur experience. But a message that I want to send to your audience is that all and each of you should take a look at yourself, because you are your own brand. And you might want to expand your identity or your professional focus into the areas that are more playful, more unusual. And to complete a fun part, when I meet through Lady Racket Foundation with young people here in Los Angeles, in Beverly Hills, and in Lompoc or Hollywood, I have a very emotional, very passionate relationship with them. And they started to call me Lady Racket because, Miss Blaisdell or Miss Eva was not expressing the passionate activities of space and activities. And last but not least, my husband absolutely looks at me purely as a Lady Racket. So there is this part of the appeal that I included. Plus, it was kind of, I left corporate world. As you know, I was indeed one of the highest ranked women in IT industry, not only in Silicon Valley, but also in Europe and also in Poland. And I was ready for something more than just a corporate, identity.
The word
so
is
how did
not
I
enough.
do?
Yeah, the word is not enough. Simply, you need a
Yes.
space.
And you know what? I just want to comment on your 48 hours statement. And yes, my day has more hours depending which planet I am on. And
Wow.
sometimes less, because one of my campaigns that I am developing, potentially in collaboration with Louis Vuitton, to promote STEM and space, is using one of the Louis Vuitton watches, Big Bang Hublot, and Lady Racket standing next to NASA JPL, asking, what time is it on Mars? And on Mars, the hour is 1 hour and 6 minutes. So yes, I shrink or expand my time depending what it is I'm doing.
If you have, the listeners, if you have any questions for our guest, please write them in comment. We will try to answer all of them. I have hundreds of questions for you. Because maybe let's start from the beginning. How your career started? How does it happen that you were a former CEO of a Compact HP Poland, and later moved to US and become and maybe about the what was after? We'll talk just after you will answer me to the question. So how your career in IT started?
I will try to make it relevant to the audience. And the message that I want to share is courage, perseverance, being proud of who you are, knowing your self-worth, and shooting for the moon. And I left Poland first time as a graduate student at the University of Warsaw, who won a scholarship to come to the United States. And at the same time, I had invitation to go to Hollywood because while studying, I was also a young actress who caught attention in my kind of very mischievous role in Marek Piwowski's film. I chose studies. I chose Silicon Valley. And after graduating in a year and a half from very good American university, and I am sharing it because the reason that it took me only a year and a half was because University of Warsaw educational reputation was so high that all my studies, so-called credits, were moved and approved to the American university. So be aware of a prestige and value that our country has. And here's how I got the first job, actually with Hewlett-Packard, and I was actually one of the first women that HP hired. I will date myself a little bit. I listened to one of your panelists who wasn't shy about her age, so I am going to also disclose mine. We're talking about the early 1980s. And I got spectacular job. I won it against 500 American engineers, MBAs, to take a position of having responsibility for most strategic account that HP had, Boeing. And when I asked executives from HP, why me? I am newly arrived to the United States. I'm just learning about computers. They had a very meaningful answer. They said, you know what? Because we can teach you everything. We can improve your language. We can teach you everything about computers, technology, about Silicon Valley. But there is one thing that no one can teach. It is personal courage. And out of everybody that we've interviewed, you demonstrated the biggest courage. And so this is something that I think belongs to, we bring from Poland. We are courageous people. And then quickly, second reason. We are talking about 1980s. This gentleman was probably in his 40s or 50s. He said that during the Second World War, he was in the Canadian Navy, and he fought alongside of Polish Navy. And he said this was the only Navy, the only ships, when they arrived to our port, they just loaded up on food and fuel and went back to fight. If you have 1,000th of the courage that your Polish Navy men had, you can win Boeing for us in no time. And I did.
Wow, congratulations. You're so persistent.
So I'm sharing it to empower young women and all of us to realize that we have incredible power in ourselves. We just sometimes have to manifest it. So after becoming very successful in Silicon Valley, which means what? Which means I was at the Mission Impossible team, reporting directly to Paul Ely, with whom I am still in touch, who was a CEO of HP Computers, working directly for legend David Packard and Bill Hewlett. I left HP to be a part of the most fabulous startup in Silicon Valley. And yes, I made tons of money in Silicon Valley way. I decided to take less salary and optimize my take in the shareholders position, in equity position. And by the time we sold our company to Unisys, the multi-millionaires were created on the spot. Then Grant was born in Laguna Beach. I then moved to Princeton, New York, Manhattan, Steve Jobs, Wall Street, Swissery. And then I met with President Wałęsa during his first visit to the United States as a new president of the free liberated Poland. I was there as an American executive investor. When he found out that I am from Poland, he asked for the meeting and said, listen, would you please leave United States for a while? Because you've accomplished so much here. Come and help us build new IT industry in Poland. And I am talking about 1992. Please bring some of this wise, smart Silicon Valley capital with you. Please come and help us build technology in Poland. And I did. I brought my own companies, my own capital, and ultimately I accepted the position of general manager of Compaq Computers out of Munich with responsibility for Poland, under the condition that I will have ultimate decision-making power about marketing and PR money, which were in millions. And I used those funds not to spend for the parties in the hotels, but to support budget of National Opera, to support Zachęta, Polish sports people, because Poland in this transition time lacked a lot of traditionally available funds. So I'm sharing it with you because there is always huge opportunity and huge responsibility for taking care not only about yourself, but environment around you, the country, the climate change, the wildlife, whatever is your passion, you need to take action around that. So it was my privilege to be the one who threw my opening party at Teatr Wielki, National Opera, instead of spending money in the hotel and underwriting a national budget of our opera so they can carry on. So there is always an opportunity for the synergy.
Yeah, and later you were asked to create a California Space Center. And I read it was even planned by Reagan, the former US president. This is
Yes.
rock. That's rock,
Yes.
really. So can you tell us, how does it happen? How late
Sure.
still working in California space industry?
Absolutely. I left Poland in 2000. I started my own startups, and I've had a journey that all of us, if we are American entrepreneurs, have ups and downs and fights and struggles and successes. And came the time that, and I appreciate your question because it's a very important moment, that I had to decide, how do I want to carry on with my life past certain point, with the intensity, risk-taking, opportunity to create something big, while leaning on my experience and legacy. And my legacy involves space and aerospace. My father was a leading professor of space and aerospace and president of Polish Air Force Academy. My grandfather was instrumental in funding and launching LOT, Polish Airlines. So I felt that my destination is to go back and see how I can change space industry from outside and from within. California Space Center was a project that was brought to me by the government of California, and in particular city of Lompoc, located strategically next to the Vandenberg Space Base, where I host a lot of my events, where we actually launch SpaceX United Launch Alliance rockets. And I was selected by them because, again, vision, courage, tenacity, to help them develop a bid to pass to me. Of course, I had to go through the government bid, 82 acres of land, and you mentioned President Reagan, who gave this land for the safekeeping to the city of Lompoc for the purpose of transforming it someday into a thriving commercial space center, but also space entertainment, space museum. And although I had to risk and spend a lot of my personal money to go through the bid, I decided to start this way. Let me see, I have some text showing up here.
So I will read it just after you will answer the
Okay.
question. So maybe let's
Yes.
now move this question, and we will ask.
Right. So in 2015, I won a largest government bid for a land in California, across the street from Vandenberg Space Base, which means you have direct access to panoramic view for the SpaceX rocket launches, a relationship with SpaceX and others, and the responsibility to build very challenging, politically very difficult project, because of course I encountered challenges. Here in California, we have a very dramatic political and business life. There's opposition to development, etc. So I'm still going through it, but I'm so excited that this is how California Space Center started, and it evolves, especially because of Corona. I have so much more opportunities to develop it also in a virtual sense. So all of you, regardless where you are, you can be a part of it.
I listened to you, and I can't imagine that it was just done by one person. You moved to US after graduate, you Warsaw University. Later, you started to work in HP. Later, you started to create like IT business in Poland. So you are the founder of IT in Poland. That you have shaped it, and suddenly you're moving to US once again, and creating like a cosmic center, and now you have still so much energy, so much passion, and so much looking into the future, because you are one of co-founders of Copernic Space, really amazing startup, which you run with your son. Please tell us more about it and explain how can we democratize space nowadays.
Appreciate your question very much. because indeed Copernic Space is like, in addition to Grant, is my another child, because it is really designed to do so much for all of us. And like you very well pointed out, the mission behind Copernic Space is to democratize space. And what does it mean, democratizing space? It means that it's not going to be limited to 3 billionaires, although of course we are thrilled and work with some of them, who already show that space is a new opportunity for incredible personal wealth, corporate wealth, and absolute acceleration of your image, your self-promotion, because the people who paid Elon Musk and Bezos and Branson to go into space, they did it because they want to be affiliated with something most exclusive, most promising, most difficult to be a part of. And this is why Copernic Space and democratizing space means a couple of things. Number one, since this is IT forum, let me highlight that when I conceived Copernic in 2016, I was mesmerized by a new IT technology called blockchain, and one of the applications of blockchain, cryptocurrency. And I looked at it as potential solution to a problem that corporations and startups have, which is how can we create and accelerate access to new sources of capital, which is not being, not on the terms that you have to deal with if you are working on the earthy startups. And the second thing that I wanted to do, I wanted to find a transparent, authentic, easy to implement method. So anyone, even if you cannot afford entire rocket of SpaceX or a satellite, you can buy 1,000th of it, or you can buy 100th of the satellite, because we are making it affordable. And why would you want to own a part of satellite? Because satellite is a new gold mine. So Copernic Space was created and is operating with some very cool investment from very special funds that, if you wish, be happy to talk about. But Copernic Space, let me tell you what we are doing. We are taking to the moon. We are taking to the moon as a software company. First, private payload. What does it mean, payload? In the space jargon, it means something physical that you put inside of SpaceX, and SpaceX delivers it either to the orbit or, in our case, to the moon. That will create a first unprecedented space assets, which everybody will be able to buy using tokens that Copernic Space is issuing. So, and yes, I work with my son, Grant Blaisdell, who is an incredible young entrepreneur, who is, of course, met Anita, and he was born here in California. He's from Los Angeles, but we are operating Copernic Space here and also in Poland because of incredible IT capabilities of Polish and Ukrainian IT specialists.
Great. So, Lady Rocket, I just wanted to show your bio, your experience, your achievement briefly, and I think I manage a bit. So now we can go deeper. So one of the questions, this is just from Justina. Lady Rocket, thank you for inspiration. Sky is no limit, really, is so true when listening to you. Thank you, Justina. Thank you once again. And Lucas,
thank you very much.
Eva, who is your mentor nowadays?
That's my purpose, inspire.
Yeah, it's absolutely. We'll talk about your job, what you are doing for women. But here's one question: who is your mentor nowadays?
I appreciate the question because I am like a rocket right now. I am, going in space, and the more I am onboarding people and mentoring people, And my approach to having a mentor is more, instead of having one, I appoint people, my temporary mentors, depending on the situation that I am in. So you let me redefine a role of mentor in contemporary times, which are dramatic, changeable, unpredictable. So it is good to have a pool of people that you can access for a mentoring in a particular area, instead of putting on the shoulders of one person responsibility to guide you. It is also very good to recycle your mentors, because some of them were good for you up to the point, and mentors have their own path, and perhaps you need someone with the new skill set, but always keep those who mentored you in your orbit with grace and appreciation. And something that I love to do is I reciprocate and I help my past mentors who were with me.
How do you help them?
By inviting them to be on advisory board, by inviting them to be part of the Lady Racket Foundation, by including them in my events, which are fairly spectacular, by sharing myself with them, because sometimes student prześcignął mistrza, that the student became more knowledgeable in a particular area than mentor. And the most important thing that you can share nowadays is knowledge, is passion, is energy. And some of my mentors are, of course, even older than I am, so they kind of hover around me to, also to have fun. Yeah, let's remember it. A relationship with mentor also deliver fun and positive experiences into life. So when I have a Lady Racket event at the W Hotel, because we are launching another racket and we have a great music, etc., or art exhibition, I seldomly forget about them. But right now, Elon Musk is not my mentor, but he is a very interesting person, of course, to observe. He's, of course, in the space industry, and I met with him and had a very, very interesting experience. What I observe about him is how he rejects the rules, just like I do, that external environment tries to impose on him. And this is something that I look at. I have, but I don't have like, oh, he or she is my mentor. Maybe I should look for one. So I appreciate your question.
Eva just wrote that you doesn't need a mentor with your experience. You are a mentor for us. Yeah.
So, thank you. I appreciate Anita's role here and the opportunity that she creates to bring all of us together, because I appreciate very much what you said. And of course, I will be happy to make myself available as much as possible with Anita and some of the plans that we are considering to be available, especially to you, especially young women and all women in Poland and Europe, because you know what, living here in California, in a center of media industry, space industry, entertainment, I probably have some experiences that might be worth sharing with you. And because California is in the United States usually about 8 years ahead of the rest of the United States in area of trend setting, shaping of the technology, shaping of the funding, attitude. Not everything is good, not everything should be adopted, but a lot of things are really very unique here. So here I am, available to Anita.
Yeah. Definitely we'll try to move maybe some best scenarios, maybe some technologies, maybe some solutions in Europe, not only in Poland, but maybe not limit ourselves with Europe. Simply, we are now global initiative, so let's think globally. And Anna asked, do you cooperate with European Space Agency? Yes, you.
I would say I support them as much as possible because, to give you an example, very few Americans paid attention to a fantastic thing that happened in my place at Vandenberg Space Base, where in November, European Space Agency launched on SpaceX its newest generation of satellites, so happens called Copernicus. And I have organized media coverage. We had a party, we had an event to celebrate and to alert Americans that this was one of the few situations where European Space Agency came on our American ground with such incredible satellite dedicated to climate change. And I felt that through Lady Rocket Foundation and my TV program, we can, emphasize that. I think that right now I don't have active projects because I am so busy with NASA and everything that we are doing. But Lady Rocket Foundation can undertake something in Europe that I did with NASA, which is space inspiration, Mars inspiration programs that NASA JPL, by the way, is here in Los Angeles. And this is this wonderful part of NASA responsible for our Mars mission. And Lady Rocket Mars inspiration programs are partially entrepreneurship program, partially programs for young generation to teach them through art, through fashion, through music about Mars. I am open to collaborating with European Space Agency. And if there are some project suggestions, I will be open. But right now I don't have like an active project, but indirectly I do. For example, I am bringing on board satellite integration company from Bratislava to participate in my climate change satellite projects. And I am, of course, Copernicus Space is a perfect partner for European Space Agency.
Eva, I must say you really rock. The space is not enough. But tell us, what exactly is Lady Rocket Foundation? Because you mentioned a bit that you have a foundation. But what are you doing exactly? And can we join it somehow as a strong woman in IT?
Yes, thanks for creating opportunity to share with you and your audience something that I am very passionate about. Lady Rocket Foundation was created in a fairly dramatic circumstances, dramatic for me, because the California Space Center, which you mentioned, encountered challenges from local political forces and tiny fraction of the government, which always happens to every developer. You just have to have a staying power, have a capital to get through it. But at that particular moment, California Space Center was put on hold. But I already had this incredible energy programs going on in city of Lompoc. The young community was already embracing me. And I said, I have to create something. So while I am being under the attack by politics, local politics, I can carry on with my mission. And together with one of the investors in California Space Center, who is an educator, teacher, I decided to launch a Lady Rocket Foundation initially in Lompoc, which is a small town, might be comparable to, it has 50,000 citizens, but it's strategically placed next to Vandenberg Space Base. So I launched Lady Rocket Foundation so we can carry on our support inspiration for a local youth, which is Hispanic and Black, which you probably know, it's not the segment of American society that is showered with the resources and attention when it comes to IT and especially space. And then we had a very special event, May 5th, 2018, May 5th, 2018, we launched United Launch Alliance, and I was participating in it, launched rocket to Mars from Vandenberg. And I created spectacular coming together of the youth and students from UCLA, USC, some celebrities. They came to celebrate this spectacular event and celebrate my quest to include local community. So anyway, we launched it in connection with Mars. The Lady Rocket Foundation expanded since then. And this is the place where I do a lot of diverse things. It's a vehicle for me to execute sometimes very quick actions. Like, for example, since this is IT forum, I am using non-fungible token, NFT, issued by Lady Rocket Foundation to create first global fundraising for satellites. So NFT, and if someone has a questions, I can talk about NFTs because a lot of people are not aware of it yet. NFT, which is digital asset that you auction off or sell for the purpose of either making money or philanthropic purpose. So Lady Rocket Foundation managed the first global campaign of issuing artistic NFT to finance satellites. To do what? To do something that is very, very important to me, to locate wounded, poached rhinos and animals in South Africa, which are getting murdered and killed on a daily basis. And I work with the very prominent veterinarian, Dr. Johan Matthias. And when I ask him, how can I help you the most? What can we do? He said, there are two things. Give me a satellite so I can find wounded animals faster, and get me additional helicopters so I can get to them quickly. So this is one of the activities. Two, Lady Rocket Foundation is producing TV shows for a local market as a way to carry on. It is also the place where I develop fashion and events, and something that I want to invite you to, which is Lady Rocket entrepreneurship programs that will be online. Which I call discovering astronaut in you, because being entrepreneur is like being astronaut. You are getting to a rocket, you don't know if you are going to land, you don't know what's going to happen, but you know that if you land successfully, it's a game changer for you and hopefully for others. So, and yes, you can connect with me, ladyrocketfoundation.org, our website. You will see my picture with the mayor of Los Angeles and maybe Elon Musk. I don't remember anymore. But anyway, would love to bring it to Poland as well.
I listen to you and I think, how long do you sleep each day? It's 3 hours, 4 hours?
No, I actually, just like Elon Musk, we appreciate value of sleep. So 6-7 hours is, or if I sleep less, let me tell you my secret. I take a nap in the afternoon because, usually I have to get up very early for calls with Europe. So siesta, Italian siesta, Spanish siesta absolutely works in the entrepreneurial reality. And then I can carry on sometimes till very late hours again, because this is when I can talk to you or Grant. It's usually like 11 p.m. my time. But we have to innovate. Plus, I have a special blend of the vitamins that I have composed, and they are not mine yet, but I'm talking with the investors about launching a line called Ageless Planet, because if you can see me, you can see that I am in the age bracket way above your age and Anita's. So, always in California, branding, launching lifestyle products is a game of this town. So I'm thinking about doing it as well. But yes, vitamins and of course exercise. So here I am, in my exercise outfit. You see my exercising t-shirt. So right after our wonderful encounter, I am going to go and exercise and swim. Swimming is fantastic. And by the way, this is my Lady Racket Foundation t-shirt, but this inside has been, which is me with a blue hair and kind of space glasses, was designed by Julia Curyło. Julia Curyło, fantastic Polish artist who paints absolutely insanely unique space motivated paintings. So check her out. She's amazing. And I'm working on having her Lady Racket exhibition here and her NFTs. And then I sponsor another artist in Poland, Lydia Gajek, whose NFTs we issued and promoted also in Palm Beach, in Malibu, in Miami, in Los Angeles. And I recently remotely organized incredible art exhibit for her with Politechnika Lubelska, because there are so many wonderful women artists in Poland, but it's very difficult to break into the American marketplace. So
Eva, if you had a chance to give an advice to your younger self, let's say in your early 30s, what would you say to Eva Blaisdell from,
yes, I would say be selective. I would say be even more courageous. If you are comfortable doing something, it means you are not challenging yourself enough. Don't look for a sense of predictability or security outside. Because during my first years in the United States, surrounded by Silicon Valley personality, I was, at sometimes, I was overwhelmed or impressed. I would say don't be impressed by others, and cherish yourself. Recognize your own beauty inside out, cultivate it, take care of it on a daily basis. And most importantly, the times when I worked for Compaq as a general manager, and yes, I was active participant, and pretty much I helped launch most of the IT companies at that time, because having a decision-making power financially, I was able to extend credit terms to Polish companies that allowed them to buy computers, to launch their companies. So I can name the guys who are still around, who launched their companies, because I also help them in marketing sense and business sense. But here's where I'm going with all of it. I work so hard as a general manager of Compaq that I'm sure a lot of you also do, working for the corporations, that it was my absolute number one goal. It consumed 90% of my time and left very little time for recognizing myself, for doing something for myself and for my family. So Grant was left to be taken care of by by hired help. Don't do that. Have a reasonable relationship with your corporation, because when you will look back, you will say, I was crazy that I did everything just for the corporate goals. Develop yourself, because corporation will value you more if you step outside of the prescribed competence. Let me tell you, in the States, in California in particular, if you can demonstrate that you are engaged in something philanthropic, that you have activity in addition to being a worker and employee, it increases your value dramatically. So take care of yourself, be selective, be courageous, and take an inventory of where you are. Are you on the right path? What it is that dissatisfies you, and what it is that you can do to change it. And and here's the key thing: ask for help, ask for support. Because in my early days, as you will ask, I was so afraid to disclose that I don't know something, either in the IT area or a business area, because I was, wanted to make sure that everybody is pleased, that I am, competent. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help. especially if you work for American corporations, it is in the job description of every manager in American corporation is to be available to his team for coaching and support. This is how we are evaluated by our superiors.
Wow, I am moved, I am inspired, and I am shocked how, because it was like on the spot, suddenly this, be this, be this, be this, be this. Have you have such a reflection on everyday basis? What should I do? What should I change? Or is it just something that's it's, you know, it's grow with your experience?
It grows with self-confidence. It grows with appreciation that life is so unpredictable that any plans we might have today for the career or otherwise might be dramatically changed with no notice. Companies get acquired, sold, change strategic direction. So you need to be aware of it. And yes, it comes with the experience and comes with age, because I have no time to waste. I am, I'm not ready to tell how old I am, but I'm really out there. So to create a sense of urgency, positive one, and ask yourself those questions, because I didn't ask myself those questions early on. And also surround yourself with people and have a relationship with people like Anita, who give you access, who create a loving, friendly, passionate, but also professional environment where you can come, learn, recharge your batteries, and celebrate yourself. I am sure that all and each of you deserve to be celebrated, most importantly by yourself, and then potentially by others. And also, who is my mentor? I will go back to this question. I have a great husband who is a mentor of unusual type, and who reminds me to ask myself those questions, because sometimes I get passionate about something and I charge forward and I get off my path. So you need to have someone who can take a look at where you are going, what it is you are doing, and ask you the questions and said, are you sure you want to do it? Have you thought about next steps? Yeah, so it's easier with age, but
Yeah, I listen to you and I understand how, your partner, your life partner is important in your career when I listen to you and what you're saying about your husband. And tomorrow we will have like the celebration of Strong Women in IT, because we will show them all, and I hope that they will be proud of them. But the topic of today webinar is not only to premiere, to talk about this report, but also to talk about how can we shape more strong women in IT? What can we do to empower them, to promote them, to stop being, so shy and intimidated what they are doing, but simply open to new circumstances, to new life, of new possibilities. How would you say for women who are listening to us, and also men, to what they should do to be more strong?
First of all, for sure, be part of the events like what you have organized, Anita. This is a front row seat to explore, to take a look, to encounter other people. So absolute connectivity to a community, because what you have created a global community of that supports and provides forum for asking those important questions. Another thing is surround yourself in your own life with role models. And now, because of Corona, I'm in Los Angeles, but I'm here with you. So don't limit yourself to the people that you currently know. Seek new relationships. Be proactive. Be clear about, take an inventory of your strength, of your passion. Recognize your greatness, your accomplishments, what you have done. Why? to build authentic sense of self-esteem. The second thing that gives us also sense of value and empowerment is make sure that you are not just locked into your current IT job or expertise from the standpoint of interests. Seek out even just initial knowledge about new emerging fields of IT, and to be more attractive to the outside world. So even if your job doesn't include blockchain, doesn't include cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency is a financial tool, but before that, it is really an IT tool. It's a product of IT that happens to be utilized in the financial world. Look for artificial intelligence, which I know is already being developed in Poland, but also, take a look at something that I mentioned yesterday to Anita, satellite applications. Satellite application, not like how satellite works, because it's boring, it's operational, but at the level of applications that I do, which is how can I distribute knowledge that I get from satellite about a fire in Malibu to my neighbor, to the police department? What type of functionalities do they need to have? How can I advertise it? How can I brand it? And how can I develop application that fits on the cell phone? And also something that I have done, and I am open to consider doing it again through Lady Racket Foundation. I led for about 1 year a group of 8 students in Krakow, and we met weekly, every Saturday at 10 a.m. my time. We met for an hour to 2 hours, and I was not only mentoring them, not only teaching them about American entrepreneurship, not only about technology, but actually I brought them all the way to participating in developing a startup and preparing a proposal as a company, as an American startup for NASA. And they had incredible joy, incredible experience. NASA accepted our proposal. We made it to finals. And now this group of young people got better jobs, have an experience, and we stopped when Corona happened. We shouldn't have, but for some reason they couldn't get together anymore. Logistics on their part. They were in Krakow. AGH, Akademia Górniczo-Hutnicza. I approached Akademia Górniczo-Hutnicza, the mining academy, because I am working on the mining on the moon. And the Akademia Górnicza Mining Academy is kind of, declining its importance because of what's happening with coal, etc. So I said maybe I can hire them to work with me and my partners on mining on the moon. And so anyway, that's, seek a relationship with people who are willing to give, who can impact your life. And look for the organizations, especially now online. You can join so many organizations that can give you access, and very quickly, very easy, go on Clubhouse. I don't know if you know this application. I know that Anita knows, and Anita can help you with that. It is a new social platform that you don't show up like this. You don't have to get dressed up, get your makeup done. It is just voice. And the beauty of it is you can go and scroll through so-called rooms, come in and listen what people are talking about, and stay in the background. Or if you want to talk, you raise your hand and they will invite you to speak. But a beautiful feature is if it's not what you are looking for, you can drop out very nicely, quietly, without anyone getting upset. So spread your wings, use social media, stay in touch with Anita, because we might be coming up with something also new here from Los Angeles. But be active, love yourself, hang around people like Anita, and look for the new knowledge and find new passion.
Thank you, Eva, for such a so strong support for us and what we are doing, because there is a team of strong women in IT wonderful girls who are just really hardworking for this project, like
Yes.
Justyna, Ola, Agnieszka. I'm really grateful for their work, and I'm sending huge gratitude for their help. And we will have to.
I met Agnieszka. Very, very nice, great team. Congratulations, Anita.
Yes, thank you. So Eva, we will have to finish shortly. So maybe the last sentence, maybe the last message. What would you say to for others, just to sum up our talk, our interview?
You are beautiful, you are smart, you are loved, you are supported, and the opportunities are great. Poland, I know that we have international participants, but as being someone from Poland, I want to say that Poland, Rzeczpospolita, is an incredible country, and its future depends on the ability of people like you to lead and deploy your skills in a new areas like blockchain, like AI, like space. On a fun part, I am showing you my poster. This is one of the little studios I use for my Lady Racket news, and my suggestion is create your own poster with your own name, or create new name for yourself and create a little studio in your room that you can imagine is a place from which you can talk to the rest of the world, because you can, and start practicing communicating with other people, either by starting something on the Zoom or being a speaker at Anita's events. Be out there, take risks, and be aware that Polish education, your IT capabilities are world-class. So California, not California, you are ready for your next orbit. And we love you. I love you. And I am so thrilled that I had an opportunity to be with you. Thank you, Anita, very much.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you. And as I said with the previous panelists, it is not the end. It is just the beginning of our wonderful Strong Women in IT community journey. And I believe that you will be part of it, definitely. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that this is the time when I have to say thank you for being with us. I am really happy that we are here, that tomorrow you will see the reports that we worked for the last 5 months. And it was really intensive time. Those of you who register for the event already have these reports on the email boxes. And once again, thank you once again. Please check your email boxes tomorrow, and hope to see you in our next initiative, next projects. And Eva, please spread the word about Strong Women in IT, and we will spread the word about Lady Rocket Foundation in Poland.
Thank you, and thank Anita, just big thank you for everything that you are doing. It's very needed and very appreciated, and congratulations on organizing this event, and a pleasure to meet all of you. Hope to see you in Poland, because the last thing I met Anita in person, actually. So this is a relationship that started through a very, very nice personal meeting in Warsaw.
Yeah, so thank you once again. Wish you a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.